This conference will now be recorded.
Oh, yeah, perfect. Thank you, Katie. And this is a follow-up call from last week where we started planning AGU and NSTA and talked briefly about AMS planning for the next year. And I put in the chat, but I'm going to put it there again because anyone who joins later can't see earlier chats. So here's a link to our spreadsheet that we started last week. And I see a lot of people on the call that joined us last week. But let's maybe start with announcements. Does anyone have an announcement they want to make?
This is Ingrid Zabel from the Paleontological Research Institution. Maybe not an announcement, but a request. I'm on this call partly because my colleague Don Haas couldn't be here today, but he wanted to be here. My colleague Rob Ross is also on the call. And Don was particularly interested in planning for NSTA, and I was going to ask if we could speak about that in the first half of the call because I have to leave at 1:45. So that's it.
Great. Thanks, Ingrid.
Sure.
Are there any announcements, anything else you want to share before we dive in?
I have a similar request for NAAE that I talked with Katie about before.
Oh yeah, great. And actually, totally, Karen, you are, we made a tab here for NAAE. So
I see it, and you've already got the links in.
Yes, right, we did that briefly last
Thank
week.
you.
Yeah,
Okay.
and to answer both of yours, we had sort of planned that since we focused on AGU so much last time. We were hoping to do those two, the first half of the calls anyways, since we didn't get to them much last time. So that will work out, hopefully.
And the deadline for NAAE is this Sunday. So this is the week, the final week for NAAE submissions.
Karen, do you want to just talk about it now? Why don't we start with NAAE and then we go to NSTA next?
Great. Okay. The easiest way to do that is for everybody to click on the first of the two links that I sent in my email. I think that's the first one on the Google Doc. Is that correct?
I think so, yeah. The PDF is the first one.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the reason why that's important is if you look at that, it gives you all the details about the conference location and dates at the top. But as you scroll down, there are two features that are really important for NAAE. One is where it says conference strands and keywords. The strands on your proposal for a session, you have to indicate which strand you're applying for. And obviously, educating for sustainable communities is right on for our work. As you can see on the beginning, the theme for the conference. Oh, I guess it's not right there. Shoot. Does anybody know the theme? It's something totally in keeping with. Sorry, I thought I had. Is it
not educating for a just and sustainable future?
Thank you. Thank you. And so there's going to be a lot of climate change sessions, I'm just confident. But the sessions that I am working on and have in mind fit under the first strand. They're educating for sustainable communities. But be sure to look at the other four strands: conservation and environmental education, green schools, connecting with nature, and linking research and practice. The sixth strand, building leadership for environmental literacy, is primarily focused on our state affiliates and building that leadership capacity. And then below those strand titles, you can see session formats. And that's what I really wanted to get down to, because I think as we're talking about sessions that people want to propose or collaborate on, we need to be thinking about the format. There are bright spots, hands-on presentations, poster sessions, roundtable discussions, symposia, traditional presentations, and then before the conference, there are half-day workshops. I just want to make a note that at the bottom of this document, there are the review criteria that are really important to look at as you finish writing your proposal, to make sure that you can get points for all those review criteria and get your proposal accepted. So given the 7 different kinds of session formats, let me just kick off this discussion with the fact that CLEAN has traditionally submitted a roundtable discussion proposal and used that as a way to inform to gather people who know about the CLEAN network and the CLEAN resources in one place so they can interact with each other, and also to draw in new people who don't yet know about CLEAN and inform them what it is and how to use the resources and how to climb on these conference calls. We've gotten an email this morning from Roberta saying that she would be happy to be one of the people on the roundtable discussion proposal, and I guess we need to talk about who else is interested in that and who wants to be sure to get something submitted so that the CLEAN resources are featured at the conference.
Are you going, Karen? I assume you are.
I believe I am going, but I'm on other sessions and I can't submit on this one.
Oh, I see.
There's a limit of how many you can submit.
Mm-hmm. Would you be willing, if anyone else submitted, Roberta or someone else, would you be willing to be part of the roundtable though?
If it's possible, given the conference schedule. You know, concurrent sessions, I don't know.
Is anyone on the call planning on attending? I always say NAAE, but I don't know. I hear you, Karen, saying NAAE. Either one.
NAAE is fine.
Okay.
Hey, everyone, this is
when
Jenna.
is it and where is it?
Second week in October in Kentucky.
Yep, it's right on the email that I just sent after Katie's announcement of this call. It's October 16th and 19th in Lexington, Kentucky.
Okay.
And it's at the top of that link that I'm suggesting everybody have in front of them.
Okay.
The link is in the chat too.
This is Jenna from Climate Generation. I know Kristen had expressed interest in potentially being involved. We are submitting a couple of sessions ourselves as Climate Generation, but could potentially help out with a session for CLEAN as well.
And from what I remember from last year, you were actually able to highlight or flag conflicts.
Yeah, Karen, do you know how many proposals you can submit?
I haven't seen that written in the materials yet this year because I've just started working on my stuff, but I think it's 3.
Okay.
For any individual. This is Jen Kretzer from the Wild Center. I'm hoping to go. It actually, unfortunately, conflicts with Project Drawdown is holding an Education Learn event that same time frame. So we're just figuring out the staffing part of that. But, you know, I had appreciated your email, Karen, about potentially submitting a session, particularly around youth engagement around climate change. So I would be interested in that. Or Jenna, you and I could talk about submitting something offline, you know, and discuss that if you'd like.
Great. My understanding is that Drawdown Learn starts Friday evening. And the NAAE conference starts Wednesday evening.
Okay, so there could be some potential with some clever travel arrangements, it sounds like.
Right, clever is the operative word, yes.
Right.
Yes, yeah. And I know that David Masick is planning on doing that, going to Lexington and then on up to New York.
Brad,
Is Frank on the call?
I haven't seen him. I don't think so.
Reason why I ask is the NOAA exhibit has been important for Clean in the past to hand out flyers, clean information about Clean. So coordinating with him, I don't know whether Katie and Patrick do that kind of thing, or Anna, whether that's in your bailiwick, but somebody ought to coordinate with him.
That's a good point. We'll do that. So it seems like for the interest of this call, so that we can, make some progress with all the other sessions we are talking about, it seems like there's interest from different people. I saw Brad put it in the chat that he might be going. Jen, you said you might be interested. Karen, you could possibly participate. Is there anyone who would be willing to take the lead on submitting a roundtable? I do agree with what Karen said, that a roundtable has been, a nice format in the past, from what I've heard. For Clean.
This is Lynn. I'm afraid I couldn't organize it, but I'm Young Voices for the Planet, the films, and I would love to be part of a roundtable or some kind of other event or workshop if anyone wants to include Young Voices for the Planet.
So is what you're saying that you're not going to be submitting a proposal?
It's due on March 31st, right?
That's right, this Sunday.
Yeah, I'm speaking like every day this week. There's no way I could get it done, and it wasn't on my radar screen. No.
Does anybody have a proposal that's been put in previously for the Clean Roundtable that we could use to build off of?
I looked in my computer, and the most recent one I had is from 2014, so it's really outdated. And my sense is that Tamara and Kristen have been submitting the more recent ones.
Right.
We can, Brad, was that you?
Yeah.
We can, Karen, would you mind sending this to me and Katie, and we can look at that. I know that Tamara I don't think she has access to everything she had at Turk, but I can reach out to her.
I'm sure that she has something more current, and my guess is that Kristen does as well.
I mean, I'd be willing to put in the proposal but it would, with the short time frame, it would help to have it, even the 2014 proposal to work from.
Karen, would you mind still sending, like you said, maybe send it to Brad, Katie, and I, and we can tweak it. And Jenna, if you can ask Kristen if she can share her latest version.
I can try. She's still out of the office right now, doing a big institute. So I can see if she has availability to do that.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot. Anything else on NAAE? We have, Katie took notes on who said they would want to be involved, so we'll make sure everyone gets.
I can start an email chain or something. Yeah, Lynn, I put you in. I put Jenna and Jen in. They mentioned their possibility, so we can start an email chain maybe or something and get everybody in touch that was interested.
Thanks. Sounds great.
Sounds good.
Okay, and who, Brad, are you going to be the one responsible for getting something in by the 31st?
Yeah, I can do that if I can get a template. I am going to probably submit another proposal as well, but I was really interested in the roundtable format, so I'd be more than willing to put that together.
Great. Okay. Super. And be sure to take a look at the 2 links that I sent in my email right before the meeting.
Yep.
This is Karen Holwig.
And they're in this Google Doc that Anna sent as well on the NAAE tab. So if you can't find the email, they're there.
Thank you.
Great. Perfect. Well, that's fantastic. Let's move on to NSTA. We started talking about NSTA presence from Clean last week, and if you go to the tab here, you can see the people that expressed interest in coordinating a session proposal. They are due right after this upcoming NSTA, so that's why we want to talk about it. Ingrid, do you want to, I know that you and Don have talked about it. Do you want to share some of the thoughts you've discussed?
Yes, well, we haven't, I have to say, we haven't talked about it much, but I think from our organization's perspective, we were thinking of putting at least one proposal of some of our work, or maybe participating in a short course. So if there's a short course that other people are interested in offering collaboratively, you know, several of us could do that together. But we didn't have any specific ideas, or at least maybe Don has somebody he hasn't discussed with me. So that's sort of where the extent of my knowledge. But maybe I'll ask, do other people have ideas for short courses that you think would be interesting to offer?
Maybe I could summarize briefly what we talked about last week, and I'm excited to hear what everyone else said. So I think the thing that Dawn pointed out is that NSTA submissions are a little bit hit and miss. It's not like AGU where you are guaranteed a slot unless you, I don't know, unless you really mess up or there's something offensive in your abstract, but they're more selective. And so we can put in a clean submission for either a short course or a workshop or something like that, or coordinated maybe a set of submissions. We don't know if those get accepted. The one thing that Dawn pointed out is that Carla McAuliffe from NSTA, the National Earth Science Teacher Association, they usually have a block of sessions that NSTA just gets guaranteed. And so we could coordinate with Carla on the submission. So I think whatever we decide we want to do, we should also talk about whether we want to do a regular submission or contact Carla and see if we want to go either of those routes. Does anyone else remember anything else we should share from last week?
That was very good. Thank you.
I see quite a few names on the Google spreadsheet. You know what people's intentions were? Are those people who were interested in submitting their own thing or on working on something together, like a roundtable discussion or short course?
I think working on something together. This list actually got started not even last week. This was something that came out of the discussion for NSTA this year that happened a couple of weeks ago that Frank led. And so there was interest because of the thing coming up, the deadline coming up for people to be part of discussions for that. And so I don't remember, some people got added then last week in the discussion around interest for submitting actual sessions to NSTA, but some of these people may have just been interested in being part of the conversation. But I think it was around shared sort of session proposals rather than just submitting to the conference.
Okay.
Can you guys tell me again, where is that Google document that you were just talking about that had everybody's name on it?
Yeah,
Is that?
Oops, I can put it in the chat here again. And then if this is the second tab or the second sheet in that document.
Okay.
Marked NSTA 2020.
And the other thing I can mention from last week, Frank said that perhaps NOAA would put in something on climate stewards and come in as an exhibitor's proposal. That was the other thing that was brought up last week that I remember.
Okay.
And I will be putting in, thank you, I've got the Google spreadsheet now. I'll be putting in an individual proposal about the climate change concept map and weather climate strand maps but those include links to clean. So we will be addressing some of the clean standards within my workshop, but that won't be the title. Okay?
Mhm.
Great. Sounds good.
And I will be at NSTA. And I'm glad to attend any clean stuff that does emerge from that if another body is needed there. How's that?
Sounds good.
I was hoping that clean might lead a short course to share its tremendous amount of resources. You know, maybe include a session on how to navigate. The webinars are really great, and everyone can get to those webinars right now. But there's nothing like having somebody there in person who can actually work with people who may not be familiar with the Clean Network and help them learn how to navigate those resources.
Yeah,
But
more
I
interactive piece or
anyone
whatever.
who can lead that.
Yeah, I mean, we've been working, NSTA has been great for us to be able to actually reach teachers through that organization. So I'm sure there's interest. I think for us, to some extent, it comes down to funding and making sure we have enough, you know, funds to send somebody there. On top
Right.
of all the other ones we want to go to too. But that's a good point. I didn't realize they had those. I've never been to NSTA before, so they do have the short course aspect or type of session.
Yes. They have a half day and a full day.
Mm.
So the half day, you know, that would take some thought in navigating those resources. That's probably what teachers would most be interested in, but they may not even be aware of the climate literacy resources, the energy literacy resources. So, you know, there are so many things there that could be addressed that I think it could be a short course if the participation was there. On another note, I just got an announcement yesterday that NSTA has a new publication out on climate change education. Wahoo!
Nice.
Can you send the link to that? Is
Yeah,
that
I
the,
was thinking,
is that the statement,
yeah,
the position statement, or something
yeah,
else?
No, it's
yeah,
a publication for teachers.
Oh,
yes,
okay. That's cool. So I really like this idea of a short course, and I think it would actually be, Clean has never done this, that we really pulled different organizations together, and we could make it a mini share-a-thon. I know share-a-thons are different formats, but if
yeah.
we were a mini gift workshop around Clean or something where we have different slots that, you know, anyone who's interested can share the resources they do from their program.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I love that because, you know, we can talk about clean and we can do even an interactive piece around exploring the collection and how to use the resources and all that. But, you know, even that I don't think would take a full half day. So it'd be great if we could have, yeah, other people involved with something like that and sharing their work around climate literacy and climate education as well.
Regarding here, I just wanted to say that share-a-thon seems like a great idea. I would further like to suggest that if in the proposal we could mention that the sharing could be done grade-wise, so according to different grades, we could organize that sharing. That would be really a great effort to put forward for the teachers. They would really like that now, you know, like say sharing about elementary, then middle, and then high school and on. So that would be something, if written in the proposal, that would be a great thing to say.
I like that idea a lot. We could just even do a community poll, and if anyone who has resources they want to share, if they send us flyers to share, we're just going to make, you know, these grade level tables and say, here is, you know, materials from Climate Generations. I don't know. I know you guys will be there, but if you weren't there, we could have that there. So let's see. I feel like because it's already 11:25, I think that's a great idea, but we would probably need some champions that want to be involved in this effort. So who would like to be part of writing this proposal, and then who would like to be considered as a presenter out of the people that are here?
I can write the proposal. I'm writing one for myself, so it's not a great effort to do that. So I can write the proposal and I can share it with the people on the Google Doc.
Great. You are signed up here. Anyone wants to join Devardi?
Hey, Devardi, this is Jenna. If you need some assistance, let me know. But we'd love to be a part of that.
Awesome.
So I'm taking some notes. Let's see, but just make sure we get everyone in here.
Right. And this is Jessica Bean from UC Berkeley. I would definitely also be interested in being involved in, editing or, supporting the submission in some way.
And
Jessica,
this is Lynn Cherry, Young Voices for the Planet. So yes, I would also like to help you.
With the proposal or presenting?
What?
Lynn, I was just wondering if you wanted to be part of the proposal writing or if you wanted to be considered as a presenter.
I thought that if I was being considered as a presenter, that I could also help you with the proposal.
Okay, great. Anyone else on the call here? Sure, we'd love to have AMS present. I know Jim and Wendy are on the call.
Yeah, I was muted. Sorry for the delay there. We will be at the conference. I don't know that I have more to add than the folks that have stepped forward in terms of AMS resources. We have just the one application that is in the Clean Network that I'm aware of. So I'm happy to stay in the loop, but I don't know that I bring what the others are bringing in terms of drafting the proposal. If we can see how it evolves, and if it makes sense to have someone else at the round table, I'd be more than happy to step into that role, but I didn't want to be in the lead role.
Okay, great.
And this was Jim. I will not be at NSTA.
Okay, great. I'm just taking notes here. All right, well, we'll also send out an email to everyone. So if you want to think about this and not involved right now, we'll do another call to the whole network. So that's the short course discussion. I like that idea a lot. What about workshop?
Yeah, I was just going to ask, is there, another workshop or session happening beyond just the short course? Cool. Thanks, Anna.
Yeah, because I think short course is on Wednesday before NSTA starts, but the workshops are sprinkled throughout the conference. So one of the things, there might be some people on the call that are submitting anyway under your organization. One of the ideas we could discuss is that we, as you write your own, I don't know, Jessica, if you're going talking about the your program, you could mention clean in your abstract. I can't remember how long abstracts are, but maybe you could say, this is, I don't know, part of the clean network or something like that, to have some community building and building some awareness of clean, just as an idea. So you can do your own thing, but just maybe acknowledge you're part of this network and maybe have a slide about clean.
I think that would be wonderful. I'm not sure that I'm going to be submitting a separate proposal, but I will definitely let you know and send you any language that I use referring to clean in the abstract.
Now, this is Wendy. So in a moment of panic, because I lost my meetings exhibit support person due to a decision to not continue working with us and stay home with her family. We got our 2020 abstract in a couple weeks ago, right before she went out the door. So my abstract is in, and I can guarantee you I will be including the clean logo and mentioning it as a part of the end of my slides.
Great.
And this is Ingrid. I feel like at some previous conferences, or in preparation for some previous conferences, somebody had prepared a slide about the Clean Network that was shared that we all could use. Does that sound familiar to anyone? And can you remind me where that exists?
Yes, Camera and Company did that. And it was a few years ago, but I don't have a copy.
No, I have. Tamara might have done one a while back, but Reb Anderson and I just developed one for AGU this year that should be used in any, I think, all conferences. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, this is the.
Really good. Thank you, Kate, again for doing that. But there's like a branding piece that kind of puts clean out there. So we have, if you want to integrate it into your slides or have a slide that mentions clean, if you're a clean member, you can use this resource that that Katie and Reb developed.
Yep, I just put the link to the folder in the chat here. So this folder has the slide, but then also just a logo that sort of marks you as a clean member. So if you don't want to do a full slide, you can use this sort of logo to then help also talk about clean for just a brief little bit as sort of a similar, like a funding logo. We developed one for a clean membership logo.
Great, thank you.
We could do the same at for those organizations that will have booths at NSTA. So PRI will have a booth at this coming NSTA and could display a clean logo or some information. We hope to be at the meeting in Boston.
Yeah, we'll
That's
be in,
great.
And we always go to NSTA and have a booth, so we'd be more than happy to put clean flyers or anything else in our booth.
That's another thing. We just developed some postcards too. So yeah, people who have booths, let's be in touch before you all leave, and maybe we can just send a package with somebody to kind of share around at different booths. That'd be great.
Are we talking about NSTA 19 now?
NSTA 19, yeah, I'm doing that also. So if you want to take some of the postcards, what I'm doing is actually I'm sending postcards and bookmarks to Frank at his hotel. So if you want them for 2019, which we would love for everybody to take a few and put them in their booths, get in touch with Frank and he can pass some of those out, hopefully, because I'm sending them to him at his hotel already. So if you want... Sure. Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, that's great. We've been putting on these civic engagement and democracy workshops funded by the Heinz Endowments throughout Pittsburgh, and we do have a slide of clean and describe clean resources, and it would be wonderful to have postcards to give to put them in the packets, people's packets.
Lynn, let us know how many you want, and we can have them sent to you.
Okie doke. Sounds
yeah,
great.
you can email me an address and how many you think you want, and yeah, we can totally do that.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any other thoughts? What I gather is that people are not, right now in the call is not a great consensus of submitting some a workshop proposal together, but maybe teaming up for a short course. And then some coordination across different presentations closer to the meeting like we are doing now for St. Paul, or for, where is it, the upcoming one?
St. Louis.
St. Louis, yeah.
St. Louis, yes, not St. Paul, St. Louis. All right, any other thoughts on NSTA? Ingrid, do you feel like Ingrid and Ross or Rob, did we discuss enough here? Is there any other thoughts that you guys have?
No other thoughts. No, this is a great discussion, and I will pass things on to Don.
Yeah.
And we have this still list here in terms of, I know a few jumped onto the short course, but if Dom wants to do something that's more of the workshop or something, you can always reach out to people on the Google Doc here and see if anybody else is interested, because there's a couple people who are on this list that weren't here today, so we can still use this for contacting everybody.
Sounds good. Thanks.
And you probably all saw that. Oh, Katie, go ahead.
Nope, I'm done.
Okay, Katie put in a link in the chat, the link to where the clean branded logos and slides are. So if you have a presentation, it's in here, and we can also send it out on the listserv so you can have it in your inbox. Similarly, I put Katie's email address here. If you want clean postcards, just email us.
Yeah, and that goes for not just NSTA, sort of in general, like Lynn was saying, we're happy to send those along if you think you can pass them out and use them. So.
All right, so let's move very briefly to AMS, and maybe just summarize for anyone who wasn't on the call last week what Wendy's suggestion was for AMS. Wendy, do you want to do that?
Sure. So if you're in the multi-conference Google Doc and you go to the AMS 2020 tab, that has a summary of the recon that I did. And for those of you that are familiar or not with the style of the AMS annual meeting, there is the ability to propose your own sessions. That deadline is 1 April. And as of the call last week with the other impending deadlines, I suggested that we steer away from proposing our own session within a conference, but look at those conferences listed there in lines 13 through 18 of the abstract. Those are all technical conferences that are going on during the meeting, and they would all be relevant for consideration of clean abstracts. Obviously, the education symposium, which is actually now the education conference, I should change that. Lots of relevant abstracts could be submitted there, and if they saw a bunch of related abstracts, they might carve out a section of the oral part of the conference and have several presentations together, depending on demand, or they might all be grouped into an education poster session. So the 29th conference on education is definitely a good one to focus on, but all the others might be relevant to have some sort of presence. And so leading away from proposing our own sessions, we thought we'd concentrate on coordinating who might submit abstracts telling the clean story and where, with a slight emphasis on the 29th Education Symposium. And then there was also conversation about clean might be able to exhibit and raise its awareness because there hasn't been a presence at AMS. And I had done the recon to confirm that it sounds like AMS would be willing to waive the exhibiting fees, at least for this meeting, and have a clean table that could be staffed by whoever was going to be there. And I put the contact information for Jen Rosen, who would be the person that would need to be approached to just talk about, whoever was speaking for clean and saying we're exhibiting and being the point of contact, could talk further with her about getting set up to exhibit at that meeting if folks want to. And the nice thing about the 2020 meeting is it's the big party. It's our 100th anniversary celebration. So it would be a terrific one if clean were to come and say, hi, we are a group that identifies as clean. It should be a big and thriving meeting. And then clear down at the bottom of that list under item number 3 are 4 more things. There's also a public Weatherfest happening. That's a huge public event on the Saturday before the conference. So clean representatives could easily have a booth there and talk to the public about clean. And then a slightly more distant thing would be the 5th if we wanted to do the career fair, but I'm not sure that makes a lot of sense. But I think Weatherfest in line 32 would be a great place if we're going to organize and have a presence. One is so more inward talking to the AMS membership and conference attendees, and the Weatherfest would be spreading the news about clean at the public event in Boston.
Yeah, and I think that's great, Wendy. I agree. We didn't have more people really sign up on here. So I think it's great to just do the sort of coordination of clean and then possibly think about the exhibiting. For the exhibiting, do we have to talk to Jen and get that done by April 1st as well? Or is that
No.
more can happen later?
That can happen later.
Okay, great.
Great.
I was
All right.
trying not to add to the 1 April deadlines and anything we were deciding.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Thanks, Wendy. That was really helpful. So let's jump to the AGU discussion. And the first tab on the spreadsheet that we've been talking about, and quick summary of what we discussed last week is that we wanted to keep only propose fewer sessions. So the idea was to propose maybe only 5 sessions, unlike the last years where we've done up to 12 sessions. And we've had a lot of merging that we needed to do, which is painful for both the program organizers, but also the conveners. And so there were a lot of moving pieces, and we had to stop our discussion last week. But if you go here, the current, just to orient you on the spreadsheet, we have at the bottom under starting in row 9 is what we proposed last year. And we left this there just for inspiration of titles and people and this and that. So we'll delete this and clean it up at some point. So anything for the upcoming 2019 AGU is really the first 6 rows here. And so we were all, everyone agreed on session 1 that we want, again, a poster session where we just say any climate literacy projects can just put a poster there, and it's a networking opportunity for everyone. And so we'll propose that. And then we had sessions 2 through 6 that were put forward. And I think the one, if I just kind of jump around, session 5, climate literacy and arts, was something that has been well attended, and there's a lot of interest from different groups. So we were thinking to proposing a climate literacy, arts, and science session. And then there was a lot of discussions how to slice and dice everything else. And so ideally, we would actually only submit 3 more sessions. And so one idea was that we can do session 2, we would do K-12 audience, and then we talked about, do we do K-16, do we do K-12 and pre-service teachers and NGSS, and then move the college audience into the current session 3 here that has higher education, and we could possibly do higher education and merge the workforce component in there. And then there's the idea around informal science education. So anyway, what are people's thoughts and how do we want to go? Oh, and the one thought that we had is that evaluation and research, we used to have its standalone session on evaluation and research, and the idea that was brought forward last week is that in these sessions 2, 3, 4, and potentially 6, we would maybe add a sentence that their evaluation and research results are welcome to be submitted to the session. So it's anyone who researches on K-12 education effective, they should submit to the K-12 session and feel invited to do so. All right, so any thoughts?
This is Katie Boyd. I like all of these. I think after last week I was leaning towards doing like K through 16, but I think once we talked it further through, I kind of like the separation of K through 12 and higher ed and keeping the sort of pre-service teachers with the K-12 group, and then having higher ed with the minority serving institutions and such. I think what I'm sort of struggling with is it'd be really nice. I mean, I know we had 10 before, so even getting down to 6 would be good, but I think it'd be like really nice if we could have like 5 instead of 6 sessions, just easier to sort of keep track of and all of that. But I'm trying to figure out like if workforce can be put into one of these other groups, and I'm not sure. It's like I think it could fit into higher education. I think it could fit into the broader audiences. So yeah, I don't know if others have ideas of like, I think I would worry of it being by itself, that it may not get as much. I think there's interest in the workforce, but I don't know how much we got this year for things in the workforce session. So what do people think about leaving that one alone versus combining it with others? And or did anybody convene that one last year? Do we know, did we get, or did we have one of those last year, a workforce focus?
We did, and I'm trying to look it up. I think actually there was no submission to the workforce, but if there were some, it was less than 5.
Yeah, so it'd probably be good to try to combine it elsewhere maybe.
This is Bonnie. Frank and I did talk about combining it with, or the possibility at least of combining it with the higher ed. And I do think that's a natural flow there. I haven't had opportunity to talk any further with Frank, so I don't want to say something that he doesn't agree with. But from my perspective, that's part of the work of higher ed. You know, that's part of what's being done there. You're preparing for the workforce. So to tie that into workforce development seems like a natural flow, and especially to tie it into the minority serving institutions from my perspective, because that is my work at NASA, is to figure out how we can help the higher ed institutions better prepare students for jobs at NASA specifically, but workforce development in general.
Yeah,
would be a natural fit into that session, I think.
That's a good point.
So there were 3 submissions last year to the workforce.
I think that makes sense to combine it. We should check with Frank though, I agree.
Mm-hmm.
And then it looks like we've gotten some pretty good interest in terms of conveners for these sessions and such, but for anybody who wasn't on the call last week, we have this, if you're interested in helping to convene one of these sessions, to put your name into the row, what row is that? 6, I guess, under the session. But it looks like we have at least 3 in most of the different sessions. So I'm sure if we did combine the workforce into higher ed, we could probably, have Brad or Elena who were interested in that move over or something like that.
Just a clarification, the pre-service teachers are not in the session 2, they're in session 3.
We were thinking session 2.
Okay.
So it'd be K-12, and I was actually just going to ask, does anyone, it seems like we've talked about this a lot, is it okay if we just say K-12 for session 2, K-12, NGSS, and pre-service teachers?
That makes it K-16 because pre-service are undergraduate students.
Well, but it's serving K-12 audience, right?
Okay.
Yeah, and hi, Devardi. It's good to hear your voice again. This is Bonnie.
Hey, Bonnie.
Hi. I do think that's an important clarification to make, and I also think that that's a good place to put that topic because of the last comment that was made. I think that was Anna that made it. They are higher ed students and higher ed programming, but they are preparing for K-12 work. So I think having them in that K-12 session would be very beneficial because they would get to hear about other K-12 work that's already happening.
Perfect, works.
How do people feel about session 4, informal education youth initiative, community impact work, and reaching broad audience? It's pretty broad, but it's essentially any informal youth and things like that.
Yeah, this is Lynn Sherry. I was actually wondering whether there's anyone whose work is focusing on diversity, because I noticed that was one of the subcategories, and that's a really big part of what we're doing with our workshops, and it'd be great if we could join a group, some workshop or whatever that's working on diversity issues.
So Lynn, are you, I'm not sure I understand, are you asking that to broaden session 4 the topic, or are you suggesting a workshop like outside of what we are these sessions?
Yeah, I was I just noticed that this was one of the listing things listed that we hadn't really spoken about before, and I don't really know if it's something that could be integrated into something that you're already discussing, or that there's something else. I'm just throwing it out there because we hadn't talked about diversity, and I thought if any of the groups are addressing that in their programs or their resources, that I'd like to talk to them, to talk to people who are doing that.
This is Wendy. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jim.
Louise Huffman isn't on the call today, but she's got the School of Ice initiative, which is for professors at minority serving institutions. You know, she's definitely one of the champions for diversity. You know, and I think that's why she ended up in session 3. And I suppose, you know, broader diversity efforts might find a place somewhere else, but certainly we do have, you know, with Bonnie and Louise, champions in session 3.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, I think to some extent it depends where the diversity initiatives are happening. Like, I know there are a lot like that happening at the sort of university level, you know, but then Lynn, what you're doing is probably more of the broader audience and informal space. So I wonder if that's something that we could add a note similar to the education and research, that we sort of add at least a little piece of that in a lot of these sessions. I don't know if we want them in all of them, but I think it'd be useful and worthwhile to add that at least as a part of each of these sessions. Just throwing that out there.
I think that would be fine.
This is Wendy, as a tiny bit of history, and Bonnie knows this well. 2 years ago, Louise and I had a session at AGU on minority serving institution and diversity in this space, and it was a thriving session, and Bonnie was our guest speaker, and it was a terrific session. And then last year we tried again, and that session ended up getting merged, and as I don't think I was able to be there, but as I recall, you felt that the message got a little lost in the session as it emerged, right, Bonnie?
Yes, very well said. I couldn't have stated it any more clearly. Thank you, Wendy.
So we could call it out in all of our existing as a desired topic.
Mm-hmm. I just added that to the note. I think that's a great idea in row 5. So I think we have a good plan. We'll talk one more time with Frank and Brett and Elena. You're on the call here about merging workforce into higher ed, but I do think we'll be stronger. We'll be in a much stronger position if we propose 5 sessions and we get a lot of proposals, and then we can actually move forward and don't have to merge sessions that never were designed to be together.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, this is Elena.
Yeah, sounds good.
Great. So one last piece that we wanted to at least touch on is the AGU workshop. We have in the last, I don't know, 5-6 years, there's always been a workshop around and often focused on the city where AGU takes place and how they do climate literacy work. And so we are planning on doing a workshop again. The workshop format has slightly changed at AGU, and so we may be stuck having to do the workshop on Friday afternoon. We have a guaranteed slot, which is unfortunate time to do that. We may be able to do it Friday morning. We have explored, Jim, I know you've offered to possibly have some space close by. We wouldn't be able to be listed as an AGU workshop if we do that. They only list events that are actually officially organized through AGU. So we will discuss the workshop more. If you're interested in being part of these conversations, put your name into the AGU workshop plan, and then we'll reach out individually and bring these people together to plan it. The deadline is similar. I think it's April 17th for the workshop proposal.
So from here, are we just going to plan to sort of work within the groups that have listed interest in convening sessions to try to actually propose these and write up the abstracts and things like that? Or do you think we need another larger conversation with Clean at this point? Or I think we check with Frank and then sort of work on these things individually, but I just wanted to check with everyone else.
Just as a side note, this is Bonnie. I sent a message to Frank so that he and I can talk further and certainly fill in the rest of the group. But he and I were the ones that started the discussion, so I just sent it to him to get that going again.
Thanks, Bonnie. That's great. Perfect. Well, then, thanks everyone for another good discussion here. Thanks for volunteering to be conveners. We'll reach out individually and just make sure that groups are connected, and then we'll there are, for anyone who's convening, we left at the top, at the bottom, you can see, if you scroll over, there's tabs for former sessions from the abstract. So if you're writing a session proposal, feel free to use whatever you want from this abstract that was submitted last year and modify from there if you want to, or you write your own new one. But that's just, we left those tabs there for inspiration.
So yeah, I think just as a final reminder, if you want to be part of discussion around any of these sessions, put your name in the convener interest, and then especially also the workshop, if you're interested in helping with that, put yourself down under that as well. And I'll try to work on getting everybody connected through some email chains or something like that. So
that's perfect. Thanks, Katie.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks,
Bye.
everybody.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.